Hi, Chris. Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year. What's the topic of the show today?
New Year.
New Year.
Buenas noches, bienvenidos a Tiempo Latino, un programa para la comunidad del oeste de Michigan y por supuesto para el público en general. Esta noche tenemos como invitado a Mark Z.
Mark Z.
¿Cómo estás, Mark?
Bien.
Muy bien, muy bien. Pues tenemos varios temas que hoy queremos hablar. Como ya saben, tenemos inmigración, las fechorías de Trump, el nuevo gobierno de Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Bueno, déjenme darles un breve resumen de lo que está pasando ahorita. Pues tenemos que Trump acaba de cerrar el gobierno de los Estados Unidos porque él no quiere quiere que le den dinero para su muro. Está pidiendo 5.5 billones de dólares para construir su muro. Oh, I'm talking about Mark is an English speaker, and I'm talking about what Trump is doing. He's asking for $5.5 billion
Yes.
to build a wall, which is
Steel slats.
Huh?
Steel slats. If they
What
want
is
to call
that?
it-
What is that, Mark?
So one of the prototypes for the wall, instead of it being like a brick wall or a big wooden wall or concrete wall, instead it was a framework to hold big, long, like steel pieces, slats, like boards, but steel, that would be going lengthwise from the ground upward to the upper connect. So it would connect at the bottom and at the top inside of a frame. And so it was steel slats. And it would be cheaper than a wall. And so Trump was saying, well, we don't have to call it a wall, we could call it steel slats. Maybe that would be better for the Democrats. They could go along with steel slats, about 30 feet tall, and too skinny for people to squeeze through.
Le estoy preguntando a Mark qué significa eso de steel lags.
Slats, S-L-A-T-S.
Slacks, él dice que son like a pieces of metal,
Yes.
right?
Like metal boards about 30 feet long going from the top to the bottom inside of a frame.
Láminas de acero que pues prácticamente it's practically a fence, right? Prácticamente
More a fence, more a fence than a wall in a sense, yeah.
Entonces, pues es una locura lo que propone Trump. Primero dijo que iba a pagar que los mexicanos que México, el gobierno de México iba a pagar por el el muro. First of all, he said the Mexicans were going to pay for the wall, right?
Right, right.
Y ahora, como México le dijo que no, que está loco, he
says that it will be paid for by the fact that the U.S. is making money off of Mexico because of the new trade agreement, the Mexico-Canada-USA trade agreement. He says that makes it Mexico paying for the wall. And Mexico says, no, we're not paying for the wall. So everyone thinks that it's crazy.
So we're just saying that, bueno, estamos diciendo que Trump dijo que una de sus promesas de campaña era de que México iba a pagar por el muro, pero pues eso es una falacia, ¿no? That's a fallacy, Mark. That Mexico is going to pay for the wall, right?
Well, Trump can be creative with the truth. This is what he's done all his life, so this is nothing unusual for Trump. He just makes things up.
He just lies and lies and lies, right?
He does, but it's strangely more complicated than that. His minister in Manhattan, as he was growing up, was a very famous self-help author. And he had the book that was still one of the greatest sellers of all time in the US, perhaps in the world, many millions of copies. And it was, I think the title was, what was it? The Power of Positive Thinking. And so if you think positively, you change reality. So it was this idea that it's a kind of magic, that God helps you to help yourself if you...
Magical thinking, right?
Yeah. If you believe something and you run around thinking that it's real, it will become real. And Trump really believes this. And so that's one of the...
Well, that makes me... Mark está diciendo que Trump tenía un guía espiritual que le decía que si tú crees en algo, eso va a suceder. Es lo que se llama el pensamiento mágico. But Marx came almost 200 years ago and say, none of that is true, right?
What?
This is no magical thinking is going to solve any problem or anything. Everything has to be measurable. You have to be able to count what you do, how you do it. That's dialectical materialism, right?
Yeah.
Eso es this is what Marx, how he changed the thinking in the Western world, right?
Well, and Marx was influenced by Hegel, who had a kind of dialectic a social dialectic that he believed took place, right? And Marx is quite similar to that, and it's a bit actually, even in its own way, it's kind of like a sort of magical thinking, even in itself. But maybe that gets too complicated for this show, where if you realize this...
Well, in simple terms, there is no magical thinking, right?
Well, if you approach society from the perspective that...
You have to approach, think in a realistic way. That's what Marx says, right?
Well,
there is no magic, there is nothing is going to change. If you don't do it in a realistic way, nothing is going to change, no? Can you say that?
Well, Hegel, and then Marx after Hegel, believed in a situation where you have a thesis. So someone proposes something or causes something to happen, something happens in society and there's a reaction to it. And that is so you have a thesis and then you have an antithesis, which is a reaction to something. And then out of that comes a political interchange which you call a synthesis. And that sometimes people think that they can intervene in that process and they can create the original. If you realize this is going on consciously, you can create changes in society that other people are not going to be prepared for. And
well, in simple terms, it means that everything is going to change if you work to do the change, right? If you want to change, you have to vote, you have to participate in the political process. Nothing is going to change because you are just desiring change. Entonces, lo que ustedes, Mark y yo estamos hablando es de que la esencia del marxismo dice, bueno, si tú quieres un cambio en tu vida, un cambio en la sociedad, un cambio en el universo, un cambio en el mundo, tú tienes que trabajar, tú tienes que participar políticamente, participar con tu trabajo. Nada va a cambiar solamente porque tú lo deseas, como lo dice el gurú de Donald Trump. Like the Donald Trump's spiritual guru says, no? That, things are going to change because I desire. That's a fallacy, right?
Well, the strange thing is that it worked for Trump. But he's president of the United States, and it can only go so far. You know?
Well, he's a liar. He's a very good liar.
I don't know if he's good.
I mean,
I think he's very transparent.
He makes people believe, many people believe his lies, right?
Well, many people believed Hitler's lies too, but
that's what I mean.
There are people who
demagogue.
Yes, there are people who want to believe certain lies, and Trump knows the lies that a lot of prejudiced white people want to hear. And so in that way, he's very similar to Hitler. And Hitler is...
So he blames immigrants.
Yes.
For everything.
Largely, yes.
And then people believe that, you know. Instead of focusing in why we are living in this way, because you are not making enough money, because corporations don't want to pay you enough money. They're taking away companies to China and other countries. So instead of Trump saying, well, this is what is really happening, corporations are not paying enough money to their employees. They are not paying benefits. They are taking factories and other industries to China and other countries. This is what's really happening. But Trump, instead of saying the truth, he just blames immigrants. Oh, immigrants are taking your jobs, right?
He largely blames immigrants. It's a demagogic tactic. It gets him a lot of easy support. So he's created an other. He's made an other an enemy in the same way that...
Well, he just blames immigrants for everything.
Like Hitler blamed the Jews.
You know,
so
that's what's happening.
But to be fair, unfortunately, I have to be fair a little bit.
Estoy platicando con Mark de lo que Trump está diciendo a la gente. Él culpa a los inmigrantes de todos los problemas de los Estados Unidos, en lugar de decir la verdad de las corporaciones se llevan los trabajos a China y a otros países, no pagan a sus empleados lo que es un salario justo.
He does blame China. He does with his...
But he's borrowing money from China, right?
Well, he's moving to detach the U.S. He's attempting to detach the U.S. economically from China, and he's threatening war to increasing degrees with China. And so this also plays well with his base in the United States, the white people that really support Trump support him because he's blaming the immigrants. Plus, he's pointing to China as the taker away of the jobs. But it's the U.S. corporations that and the elites in the United States, of which he's one, that arranged all of that in the first place. And also,
But the U.S. government is borrowing money from China, right?
yes, but China has divested a lot of its investment. China has dumped a lot of that investment as a retaliatory move against the United States. So
Don't believe all these lies. The immigrants are responsible for the economic crisis. The economic crisis was created by corporations taking jobs to China, taking industries to China and other countries, by not paying fair wages. And this is happening here in Michigan.
well, yes. And
Like Chrysler, they are just closing factories, and they bring in factories to other countries so they can pay less money for the same product, bring the cars here, sell the cars for thousands of dollars, and make the cars for pennies, right?
well,
It's
let's-
here at home. He's
let's-
at home in Michigan.
Let's look at Trump's immigrant crisis that he calls an invasion and look at its real origin. Its real origin was NAFTA itself, that the U.S. Arranged for its own benefit. And 15 years ago, I read a very convincing, very long article in the New York Times that clearly explained that what happened to Mexico was that the countryside of Mexico basically emptied out. There were whole villages that had lost more than half of its population because the whole corn economy that had existed for thousands of years in Mexico was suddenly over because Mexico was in the same corn market as the United States, and corn can be produced on giant farms in the United States using machinery and fossil fuels and tons of fertilizer in very good soil, producing extremely cheap corn, and it made vast unemployment throughout rural Mexico, and rural Mexico ended up moving to the United States. And that's Trump's crisis. It wasn't that liars and thieves and rapists just decided to move to the United States for no apparent reason. And it's just an incredibly transparent demagogic lie.
But now moving to better topic, Mark. It's Andrés Manuel López Obrador, the new president of Mexico. He's doing very good in Mexico. He increased. He's giving money to the old people, like like 60 something. 60 years old people, like
Social Security?
60s, some kind of social security. For
That
them.
didn't exist?
That never exists in Mexico. And he's doing what Roosevelt did to people in the United States.
Didn't it exist after the revolution by the 1930s?
No, this
No?
is new.
Wow.
This is the first time the Mexican government is helping old people in Mexico. He did it when he was the mayor of Mexico City, and then the program started growing and growing. And now that he's president of Mexico, the program is even bigger now. Le estoy diciendo a Mark que Andrés Manuel López Obrador, el nuevo presidente electo de México, está dando dinero a los adultos mayores. Les está dando una pensión para que la gente los adultos mayores no viven en las calles, no estén pidiendo limosna, no estén, pues dando lástima a la gente, ¿no? Y esta es la primera vez que un gobierno implementa tales medidas, extraordinarias medidas para ayudar a los adultos de la tercera edad. Ahí en México también está persiguiendo a los guachicoleros, la gente que se roba el petróleo, la gasolina allá en México, que acaba de salir una nota que se robaban 600 pipas de gasolina allá en México diarias. Déjeme ahora explicarle a Mark lo que estoy diciendo. Oh, I'm saying that. So this is the first time the Mexican government is helping all people. This is like something extraordinary, never happened before in Mexico. And also, he's chasing, Pemex, the industry in Mexico.
Since the 1930s,
Well,
Pemex
they were-
came into existence at that time. The British.
Well, explain what is Pemex to the
Okay.
English audience, Mark.
In the late 1930s, the Mexican government, which at the time was more than perhaps at any point in its history, even up to now, was fulfilling some of the promises of the revolution by the late 1930s. It nationalized British and American oil companies. And the petroleum companies became, their interests became the Petroleum of Mexico, Pemex. And that existed up until a year or two ago. It was resold back to the British, American, the Dutch interests. And that was extraordinary. But I mean, when it was nationalized, this was not just, oh, your companies are now our companies, you're totally out now. They actually fully compensated the British American oil interests. And it took many years. It took about 15, 20 years or more to completely pay for it, but it was paid for with interest. And now that is that was reversed, and I've heard from Pablo that that Obrador is saying that he's going to renationalize after the denationalization of the nationalized oil interests. So I don't know where that.
Well, no, exactly, Mark. But he's chasing people that were stealing gasoline in Mexico.
You mean
They were stealing like
little criminals?
Well, there is big shots involved in this stealing of gas,
Like organized crime?
organized crime, and so he's chasing these people that were stealing 600. You know those big trucks, the
Yes, tankers.
600 tanks every day of gasoline.
Are hijacked or just through corruption or missing?
Through corruption, the employees were involved, and I think it was even the leader of the union in Pemex. He was involved, and there are other people involved in like big shots involved in this larceny. I would say larceny.
Yeah.
600 tankers every day. This is like 200 million pesos every day stolen from the from Pemex, which belongs to the Mexican government, to the people of Mexico. So he did it in just 25 years. It happened during the 3 last presidents. They didn't do anything about it.
Well, what about the denationalization of Mexico's petroleum? Is that still something that Obrador says he's going to do?
Probably, but I mean, this is very interesting.
Complicated.
Yeah,
He hopes to.
He's going step by step, no?
Mhm.
Brick by brick, right? Brick
Sure.
by brick, like he's working that, like chasing all these criminals. He's giving a pension to the Social Security for the elderly, I would say. What else? The Supreme Court of Mexico, the ministers of the Supreme Court of Mexico were making more money than the ministers in the U.S.
Hello.
Oh, we have Jorge Rodríguez. ¿Cómo estás, Jorge?
Bien, ¿y tú? ¿Qué me cuentas?
Jorge Rodríguez is a pastor that went to Tijuana to visit the immigrants, right?
Mhm.
In Tijuana. How are you, Jorge?
Estoy bien, Pablito, ¿y tú?
Bueno, cuéntanos, ¿qué más, qué pasó allá en Tijuana? What happened there in Tijuana?
Bueno, hace casi 2 semanas estuvimos en Tijuana para una acción directa ahí en la frontera, en la frontera en el lado de San Diego, Tijuana. Por el lado de San Diego, una acción ecuménica para poner sobre la mesa 3 puntos básicamente. Uno era el tema de la desmilitarización de la frontera. La otra cuestión era el derecho que tienen los inmigrantes a emigrar precisamente y al derecho al asilo. Y la tercera cosa es a poner la atención sobre que el gobierno no pare con esa política de detención y de separación de familias.
Déjame explicar lo que acabas de decir. This is Jorge Rodriguez. He's a pastor that lives in Portland, Oregon, right? Y él
Sí,
es,
Portland, Oregon, sí.
él fue a la frontera. He went to the border, the Mexican border in Tijuana. He went to see the immigrants because he is from Honduras, and mostly of these caravans are coming from Honduras. So he say immigrants have the right to immigrate. Tiene el derecho de inmigrar,
Sí.
tiene el derecho de qué más?
Asilo y también
Inmigrar,
condenar pues
asilo
también,
político.
el asilo, el derecho al asilo, la migración. La otra de las cuestiones es denunciar la militarización de la frontera. Y la tercera cosa era precisamente que el gobierno pare con esa política de deportaciones y de separación de familias.
So he's explaining that, so he went there because they are demanding the right to political asylum for people who's looking for political asylum, to stop deportations here in the U.S., and the right to immigrate, ¿verdad?
Sí, no, denunciar la militarización de la frontera.
Or and the militarization of the border. That's,
Sí, correcto.
Yes.
that's what they are asking this group of people at the border. He went with a group of pastors. Fuiste con un grupo de pastores, ¿no, Jorgito?
Sí, es una organización es una organización de los cuáqueros, de los amigos de las Américas. Los cuáqueros es una organización que tiene más de 100 años.
Amigos.
Y tiene dentro de sus objetivos luchar por la justicia. Así que ellos fueron los sponsors. They were the sponsor for the activity there. We attend like more than 400 religious leaders of different areas of this country.
Que bueno, dice que 400 ¿qué? Patrocinadores
Más de 400 líderes religiosos
fueron
de
a la
diferentes
frontera.
organizaciones atendieron la invitación de los cuáqueros.
So the Quakers invite more than 400 pastors to go to the border and make these demands at the border in Tijuana, San Diego, ¿no? San Isidro, California.
Sí, correcto.
¿Y qué es lo que ha pasado, Jorge? ¿Qué es lo que está pasando ahorita? ¿Se han implementado algunas de estas demandas? I'm asking to Jorge what's going on. Were they successful with these demands?
Bueno, lo que está pasando básicamente ahí, por ejemplo, ese día que estuvimos ahí fueron detenidos 32 líderes religiosos.
32,
que fueron
32
detenidos
pastors were arrested at the border, right?
Sí, más o menos 32 personas. la noticia tuvo impacto a nivel mundial. Apareció en las redes sociales más de 2.600 veces. Apareció en las redes sociales el evento que se quería a nivel nacional y más allá de a nivel nacional, para mostrar qué era realmente lo que estaba pasando en la frontera sur.
Qué bien, Jorge. ¿Y alguna resolución que haya surgido de esta manifestación o algo concreto que se haya logrado? Something concrete.
Bueno, yo creo que la primera cosa que queríamos era precisamente que el asunto cobrara dimensiones mundiales, que tuviera la atención de todo el mundo, que supieran lo que estaba pasando ayer, y ese objetivo se logró con la actividad.
Well, Jorge saying that one of the objectives were to get the international attention about what's going on at the border in Tijuana, in San Isidro, California.
Sí.
What else? ¿Qué más?
El siguiente día nosotros fuimos al lado de México para conocer también las condiciones en las que estaban los inmigrantes de la caravana que han llegado al lado de Tijuana. Nos sirvió también para eso. Y sí han habido algunas reacciones, creo, positivas después de ese evento. Y una de las cosas es que realmente, aunque es complicado la atención, porque son miles y miles de personas las que están solicitando asilo, pero algunas de ellas se les ha permitido entrar a los Estados Unidos y esperar, ¿verdad?, que se les respondan las solicitudes de asilo. La otra resolución fue la que apareció la semana pasada, donde el gobierno estaba negociando con México la posibilidad de que la gente que está solicitando asilo pueda puedan ser recibidas las solicitudes en México y esperar en México para que reciban una respuesta de si se les acepta el asilo o no.
Well, Jorge is saying that they are asking what the Mexican government is helping the immigrants. They are at the border. They say, well, you can stay here as long as you are asking for political asylum. And the group of pastors, they went to Tijuana to see the conditions of the immigrants in Tijuana, Mexico, how they're living. The last time that we talked to Jorge, he said they're in pretty bad shape. Christmas, New Year, they are in these terrible conditions, and that's what's going on, right, Jorge?
Sí, correcto. Yo creo que ha ido mejorando la atención a la población migrante. Cada día que va pasando va mejorando las condiciones. Parece que se está... cuando nosotros fuimos, y creo que todavía las condiciones hay que mejorarlas, hay que trabajar mucho, porque por lo menos estuvimos en los albergues, que estamos hablando de lo que sería un albergue que no es tan grande, quizás un 50 metros de frente, porque en un espacio corto, permíteme, en un espacio corto, 2.500 personas durmiendo en tiendas de campaña, ¿verdad? Con unas condiciones pero bien mínimas.
He said there is 2,500 immigrants living in these terrible conditions.
2.500.
2,500, no? 2,500
Yes,
immigrants
2,500.
living in these horrendous conditions in tents for camping, living on the streets of Tijuana. But the conditions are improving, right? You have any question for Jorge, Mark?
None that I can think of at the moment.
Ok, Jorgito, pues muchas gracias, Jorge, por tu reporte.
Ok, saludos a la gente de Gran Rapids y saludos ahí a toda la gente que ve tu programa.
Greetings.
También a Mark que está aquí. Estamos a la orden para cualquier cosa que ustedes necesiten saber sobre la situación de los inmigrantes allá, porque nosotros mantenemos una comunicación constante a través de nuestros contactos en Tijuana y en San Diego.
Bueno, pues
Okay,
seguimos en
gracias.
contacto, Jorge. Gracias por tu reporte. Feliz año
Vaya,
nuevo.
pues, saludos. Igualmente, saludos a todos. Cuídense.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bueno, pues este fue Jorge Rodríguez, el pastor allá en Portland, Oregon, quien nos está diciendo las condiciones en que él vio a los inmigrantes hondureños que están ahí en Tijuana, esperando entrar a los Estados Unidos con asilo político. Just yesterday, the Border Patrol was shooting gases to
Tear gas.
tear gas to a group of immigrants that were trying to cross the border in Tijuana and San Isidro, California. So, as you can see, these poor guys are like in horrible conditions, Mark.
Right.
You
Trump
know.
has recently said in the past, I guess this was about 3 days ago.
2 children die in U.S. in the Border Patrol custody. 7 years old and 8 years old, a boy and a girl. This is terrible for these immigrants. The only thing they want to come here and find a job and be able to send money to their families. Man, it's like I don't know what people are thinking these people want, but I mean they are just coming here. They are asking for political asylum. They want to come legally to this country, but they can't because the laws doesn't allow you to come legally to
Well,
the
the-
country.
often-
If you are poor, if you don't have a bank account, if you don't have a property, a house, the U.S. government is not going to let you in.
If you're wealthy,
Yeah.
you can.
If you are wealthy, you can even get a green card.
Or if you're not wealthy but you're from Norway,
Oh yeah. If
you
you're
know,
from
or from the United Kingdom, you can. If you're middle class, you can come here.
Of course.
Even if you're poor, but not from Mexico. There's
or
basically
Honduras in this case. No?
basically unless you're substantially wealthy and can bring a lot of money and pay a big fee, there's no immigration from Latin America whatsoever. It has not been part of the system, and it's not really part of the system now. Often you hear Republicans say, well, they can stand in line and like everybody else and enter legally. But there's no legal entrance for these people. There's none, except the asylum. And Trump is not granting any asylums. There are no asylums.
Yeah,
being granted.
they are allowing 10 people every day to apply for political asylum.
Out of tens of thousands of people who are at the
Out
border
of
right now.
2,500 people they are waiting
At the
just
border in
Tijuana,
San
no?
Diego, yeah,
at
but
the border in Tijuana, San Diego.
there's there's 20, 30,000 people probably along the entire border who've been trying to apply, and essentially Trump is sealing the border, and he has actually told the Democrats that unless he gets his barrier,
$5.5 billion to
unless he gets his steel slats, billions of dollars for his steel slat barrier, he's going to completely seal the border from all movement, he says. So he might be able to do that because he's the commander of the military and he's abusing his position as commander of the military. I would say the military is very frightened in the United States right now because they don't know what's going on with Trump. He's fired all of his cabinet people who were retired generals, and he's made sounds like he's going to leave NATO, and he's made sounds like he's going to move the army out of South Korea, and you know, maybe he's going to have kumbaya with Putin someplace. I don't know. It's all very strange. Very strange.
Mark está siendo un poco sarcástico aquí con con el Trumpas porque pues está diciendo que a lo mejor se van a ir a bailar agarritos de la mano a
The U.S.
Putin,
military is in a
Putin
panic.
y Trump, ¿no?
The military is panicking about him.
Why is panicking, Mark?
Because-
Mark está diciendo que hay pánico entre el ejército de los Estados Unidos, los militares.
Because he's a tremendous threat to national security. He's alienating all U.S. allies. The French and the Germans have said that the European Union needs to form a new and more powerful army in order to oppose the United States potentially. So Trump is a fantastic disaster from the perspective of the officers of the United States military. I actually think that it is possible, and this would be terrible, but it is possible that the U.S. military will stage a coup because Trump is so much of a threat. But this would be very damaging to whatever democracy we have in the United States and to, you know, our very long-lasting Constitution. It would be extremely damaging. But they're very frightened of him, very frightened of him. I'm frightened of him. I'm frightened of his followers, you know. They don't realize it, but this whole scenario is very much like, I know Trump realizes that Trump is trying to emulate Hitler to some degree. I don't think he is as intelligent as Hitler, not that Hitler was a fantastic genius, but he looks at what Hitler did and he admires what Hitler was able to accomplish through BS, through lying. And so Hitler lied all the time, and the lies were so big that people couldn't believe that they were lies.
But you know, Mark, this is what always makes me wondering. You know, like they say, oh, there is no money for schools. There is no money for.
There's plenty of money
for Social Security. There is no money for creating more jobs in the U.S. But they have money for a wall, right?
Oh,
I mean, Trump is asking for $5.5 billion for a stupid wall that it won't stop immigration.
it's a symbol.
And it's just insane to me that, well, like go to the public schools here in Grand Rapids, like, and just go and visit, like visit your nieces or nephews or children in Grand Rapids, and you see like the schools are like the classrooms are full, like more than 30 children. The teachers are trying to do the best to educate our children because supposed to be there is no money in the government to provide decent conditions for children to study. No, in every school, but most of the public schools are in the disaster, right?
Allow me to say this. The United States is wealthier than it's ever been in the aggregate, in the total. But the money has gone to the relatively fewer people at the top, progressively so. And for the overall average person in society, including the average white person, and this is part of the problem, there's been a precipitous decline. Even though the society as a whole is wealthier, the average person, even the average white person, is poorer. And they know that, and they blame it. Trump is able to blame immigration. He's able to blame the Democrats, blame government. But actually, it's the Republican Party and the movements that eventually the Democrats largely went along with to internationalize the economy, which was to the benefit of the elites, to arrange society so that money would flow to the top and flow away from the mass of society. There's plenty of money, but now if they were to spend money on the schools, the money would largely be going to a changed demographic. Maybe that's part of it, a part of why they don't want to spend that money.
So I would like the local governments and the federal government. Ooh, we lost the transmission.
Oh, hey, did we go off the air? Off the
Oh,
cable?
no, we are back. We are back.
Whoops. Sorry about that.
Well, we lost image, but
We're back. Yeah.
so we are back. And Happy New Year, Mark. I hope that everyone is doing well, and if you have plans for this year,
Feliz Año Nuevo.
Feliz Año Nuevo. Feliz Año Nuevo a todos.
With an ñ over the end.
Con una ñ. Oh, somebody's calling me, but I will answer later. Feliz año a todos. Este es Tiempo Latino, un programa para la comunidad latina del oeste de Michigan y por supuesto para el público en general. So we have Trump, we have López Obrador in the international. We're losing credibility, Mark, with
Who?
NATO, United
Yes.
States, right?
Yes, that's what I was mentioning. Parts of NATO, the core of NATO in Germany and France at least, are saying perhaps it's time to create a specific non-NATO force that can potentially oppose the United States, which is now dangerous because of Trump. Yes.
And
Trump pouted. That's why he didn't go to the World War I commemorations. It wasn't just that it was raining and it was going to give him a bad hair day. It was this talk about that the U.S. has become dangerous.
And what else I want to tell you also we're doing fine, right? I mean, there's
Who, we?
no,
What,
I mean,
what
I
we?
mean,
The U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, like,
No, we have Trump. That's very bad. It's very bad. However, I have...
I mean, but there is hope. Like, I mean, he
I
will
think
be
that-
impeached, right?
I think there's plenty of hope that it'll be impeached. I would find it hard to believe, you know, it's possible that the Republicans will not turn on him, but I have some faith that they will. If they don't, it becomes a scarier thing, and I think that the military would actually depose him because he is such a danger. He acts as if he's a Russian agent, and most of his business throughout his career was with Russians. His son, a couple of years ago, said, most of our assets, most of our customers are Russians. And so he's been surrounded by the Russian mafia for years and years. His first wife had some sort of relationship to Czechoslovak intelligence. She was some kind of agent, the skier, Ivanka, not Ivanka, but Ivana Trump,
Ivana.
originally. And she introduced him to the leadership of the Soviet Union. He met Brezhnev in 1985. They have really cultivated their contact with him because they saw him, it's said that they saw him as an alcoholic. He was an alcoholic at the time.
Trump?
Yes. They saw him as an alcoholic, a blowhard, a egotist, all the things that would make a bribable and blackmailable asset, potentially an agent. And so in so many ways he's frightening, it's crazy. It's like you couldn't make a science fiction story up this unbelievable and have sold it 3 or 4 years ago. Trump, President of the United States, oh gosh, that would be the most, that would be the funniest satire that you could imagine, but it's our horrible reality. However, there's hope. The hope is he's blowing himself up.
We have a new governor, Mark.
Yes, yes.
We have a new governor. We have.
But we have the old legislature.
We have several new Democrats in the legislature.
Yes, but it's still controlled by the Republicans. And they're trying to make sure...
Unfortunately,
They're trying to cut the governor out of power. So part of what she was elected on was getting rid of Enbridge, the Canadian oil company's pipeline across the Mackinac Straits, which is really just a shortcut through Michigan to go to the rest of Ontario in the south. And the Republican legislature has passed laws, they think, ensuring that she won't be able to end the pipeline, prevent the tunnel from being built under the straits for the new pipeline.
So,
Noticias.
oh, we have comments from Facebook.
Yes?
He said they just send us some comments here in Facebook. Let's see what are they saying.
Noticias de Facebook.
Can you read this comment? This is the comment that somebody is giving Mark. Can you read it?
Yes. John Chrisman. Spiked steel slats would be a great way to display the heads of the most rapacious capitalists.
Aquí tenemos un comentario que estamos en vivo en Facebook, en mi página y a través de Facebook está el programa en vivo.
So,
John Christmas dice los pedazos de metal que quiere poner Trump en la frontera sería una forma maravillosa de poner las cabezas de los capitalistas rapaces.
Yes, if we put our most rapacious capitalists on spikes facing into Mexico on top of the steel slat structure, perhaps that would scare away the most rapacious capitalists of Mexico from attempting to apply for immigration into the United States. Perhaps that would fend off some of the worst liars and thieves in Mexico.
Y entonces está muy interesante estos comentarios chuscos que están haciendo, pero bueno, pues gracias por sus comentarios. Ya saben, este es un programa para la comunidad latina del oeste de Michigan. Mándenos sus comentarios aquí a través de Facebook, a través de mi página, Gran Rapids Tiempo Latino o Tiempo Latino. Métanse, hagan una solicitud, Pablo Bello. También está abierto al público, es pública la página. Ustedes si nada más métanse y pueden ver el programa en vivo. Acá también estamos en YouTube. I'm saying if people want to watch the show in Facebook, the page is public. The only thing you have to look for Grand Rapids Tiempo Latino and click on the page, and you are able to see the show live in YouTube and Facebook.
Also, CTV, CTV Society, all lowercase, all one word, that will put you on a page with about 20 of the shows of CTV in general.
Yeah, this
including
is a show inside of CTV, right, Mark?
Tiempo Latino is a constituent element, a addition of CTV. Yes.
Sí, el Tiempo Latino es un programa que es invitado de CTV, una organización que hace posible este programa, en la que ya llevan esos 20 años haciendo este programa quincenalmente, y Tiempo Latino es parte de este programa. Somos como un programa dentro de otro programa, y es posible gracias al apoyo técnico de CTV y a Mark, que él hace posible este programa. So, I'm just telling the Grand Rapids Tiempo Latino. Tiempo Latino is a show. It's possible to CTV. It's possible to make this show because a CTV organization, right?
We produce CTV. You're the content producer, and I'm the overall producer of CTV. You're the Tiempo Latino content producer. I'm more like the crew producer in general.
Bueno, pues llámenos Mándenos sus comentarios, díganos qué quieren ver en este programa. Estamos iniciando el año, de muy buen talante. Inicia el año hoy 2 de enero del 2019. Estamos muy contentos de estar aquí, que nos deje entrar a su casa a través de este programa. Mi invitado de hoy es Mark Zapetowski. Thank you, Mark, for coming to our show. Feliz año, ya casi nos vamos. Any other comment do you have, Mark? ¿Algún otro comentario? Le estoy pidiendo a Mark que nos haga otro comentario. Aquí ya casi nos vamos 6 minutos y casi terminamos.
I reiterate that I think that there's hope that Trump will not be in there long term.
His children are going to be probably investigated.
In jail.
They're probably going to jail, right?
Ivanka looks like she could quite possibly go to jail. His son-in-law, her husband looks like he could be going to jail. There are 17 active investigations involving the White House people, Trump and the other people around him. We've never seen anything quite like this. And I think that it seems to me almost impossible that the Republicans will stay with him, but it's frightening that they might, and if they do...
What is this investigation about, Mark, all these other investigations?
Well, the core of the investigation, the Russian connection that Trump totally denies, no collusion, witch hunt, fake news. Well, what happened was, all along, Trump has had this connection to Russians, Russian mafia, the Russian government. For 20, 30 years, 35 years, he's had this connection. Well, he has ended up in a situation where, even though he was campaigning for president, he was negotiating with the Russians, with Putin, and the people around him were carrying out investigations. Flynn was, Cohen, his lawyer, was, and Ivanka was, Kushner was.
What were they doing? What is
what
Rebecca
they
doing?
were negotiating directly with the Russian government and with the Russian government bank to have a huge Trump hotel, Trump Tower, Moscow, and Putin was going to have a pleasure palace with a pool on top, and it was going to be beautiful, and it was going to be Trump's biggest deal of his whole life. And even though he was running for president and said, even after he said, oh, I'm not doing it anymore, they continued the negotiations. Part of the negotiation was that the U.S. was going to end the sanctions over Crimea, over Ukraine.
The invasion of Crimea, no?
Russia was under a lot of sanctions because Russia became aggressive towards Crimea and started shaking the sword at Poland and at the Baltic republics, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, was becoming aggressive again. So there were a lot of sanctions on individual Russians. The Russian mafia people, the Russian government people especially, couldn't do business with Trump. They couldn't do business in the US. So Trump needed the sanctions to be off so that he could do the deal. And part of the deal with them was end the sanctions and we'll do the deal. So he was already blackmailable over this whole thing. And the negotiations continued even though he denied that it was happening. And so even after he said, oh, we're not doing that, they were still trying to do it. All the way up almost to the election. And maybe even afterward. Actually, even after the election, Flynn was still going to Russia, still meeting with Putin, and he has testified that this is what he was doing. Flynn was negotiating this arrangement. Really, they were going to probably sell out Ukraine, and who knows what else. Do what the Russians want because it was in the president's interest. So it's treason. That's what it's at its core. That's what it's about. But there's 17 different investigations, but that's the biggest one.
Pues ya casi nos vamos. We're almost done with the program tonight, and thank you very much for letting us make possible the show. Gracias por dejarnos entrar a su casa con este programa. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you for coming. Y pues ya saben, we're waiting for the impeachment of Trump.
Yes.
Hopefully.
And then after he's impeached and removed from office, he can have, perhaps he can be executed after a fair trial. For treason.
That's a little bit too much, Mark, but
I don't think so. I mean,
he
he's
will
one
be
of
impeached.
one of the greatest traitors in American history. He has threatened national security to a degree that I can't imagine any other American other than Benedict Arnold has done.
Bye-bye. I think that the music is starting.
Yes, the music is starting, but we better keep going.
And thank you, Mark. Thank you for coming to our show. Gracias, Mark. Marcy, por venir a nuestro programa. Este es Tiempo Latino, enero 2 del 2019. Gracias por ver nuestro programa. No se pierdan. When is our next show, Mark?
In 2 weeks. So the
19th
plus.
El próximo programa. No se pierda su programa Tiempo Latino. Estamos también en Facebook. Estamos haciendo reportes constantes de la situación de los latinos aquí en los Estados Unidos, la situación de inmigración, el tema de inmigración, el tema de los inmigrantes, el tema del gobierno de Trump, la manera que está afectando a los latinos. Hay muchas noticias que reportar aquí en Grand Rapids y noticias locales, internacionales, a nivel estatal. Gracias.
January 16th is our next show, 6 p.m.
Nueva Vida. Nueva Vida. Tiempo Latino. Oh, can you see? That's it.
Is that it? That's